All right, we are back, episode 37 now, going a little bit now.
Yep.
Um, we don't really have baseball anymore, so that's cool. It's kind of gone. But I mean,
Yeah. This is the second full week now with no baseball, so it's a little
yeah,
weird.
no, players' profiles on Twitter are just blank faces now, so that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's pretty funny, honestly, that they did that. I like that.
yeah, no, I definitely mess with that. I mean, we have some news to get into. The Mets are still looking for a manager. Um, so Max Scherzer, new Met, actually came out and said he would reportedly prefer Buck Showalter to be the next guy. So
I found that pretty interesting that that's number one, his top choice, because like it's not like they have experience together or anything that I'm aware of. I mean, I think okay, so to me, he's probably the top candidate too, because I think the Mets need somebody with experience, but I
yeah,
still find it kind of strange that like this is just his top guy for like that, not really a specific reason. You know what I mean?
I maybe the only thing I can think of is like Scherzer's like an older guy. He's probably like not about some like young, like inexperienced manager. He wants someone that's like kind of like tough on the players, like Showalter is.
Right.
That doesn't really take shit. So like
I
that
mean,
that kind of lines up with who Scherzer is. I don't know.
I think too, was Scherzer on the Tigers when Leland was still the manager at some point?
I think
Because
so.
like,
Yeah,
so that
probably.
he probably has experience with guys like him.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I get it. I mean, you're a Mets fan. What's your view on this? Like, do you want an experienced guy or not?
I feel like at this point, yeah, because first of all, not that manager was like our big problem the last few years. There's plenty of others, but like
Right.
we went through like Mickey Callaway, Luis
Oh
Rojas,
man, yeah.
like guys that just like didn't really have it. I mean, Callaway a little more, but like still, I kind of at this
Yeah.
point I would prefer a guy that's kind of been through it. Obviously Showalter had a great run with the Orioles, at least for part
Yeah.
of his
Oh yeah.
tenure.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean, Showalter back in the day was the Yankees manager for a while. He had some great years with us too, back in like the '90s, early 2000s. So, I mean, he's got experience, man. I don't know if he's ever. I think he's won a World Series with us, but I'm not positive how many. I
okay,
don't know, but he obviously has the playoff experience, even with Baltimore. Like the years he was there,
yeah,
towards the end, they had great seasons with like Nelson Cruz one year was on the team, or when Chris Davis had that big year. I mean, he's had some experience with some big names too, but I mean, there's also some rumors swirling around that Curtis Granderson is potentially a candidate to manage the
totally
Mets.
opposite side of the spectrum. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Um,
my brother texted me that, and at first I thought it was like a joke, but then like I was
right.
thinking, I was like, I could kind of. He's a leader. I could picture him doing it. Do I prefer him? Probably not.
Yeah. I
Like for
mean,
the
to
reasons
me,
I
this,
just said. Like,
right. To me, there's like several different, I don't know, there's several different ways to look at this.
yeah,
I think Granderson is like he's obviously known as like one of the great guys in baseball. He's like really known as a nice guy in the sport. I
hmm,
believe right now he does a lot of work with the Players Alliance too. So like he's been involved in baseball still ever since he's retired.
okay,
I mean, I think he would be a great manager one day. I just don't think that this is the right situation for him because the Mets are like in win now mode. And I don't
oh
know if
yeah,
you want to necessarily go with a guy who's never done it before. I feel like maybe he should sit out a little while, maybe manage years down the road, because I do think he would be a good manager. Um,
right,
I just don't know if right now with the Mets is the right move for him.
right. It's a win now mode in the biggest market there is. So
Right.
I agree. It's not my first choice.
But hey, man,
Um,
maybe hire him as like a hitting coach or something. I mean,
hey,
because I mean, man, you and me know Curtis Granderson really well. Obviously, he played with the Yankees for a while. Then he went
yeah.
over to the Mets. I mean, he made it to the World Series with you guys back in 2015. Obviously, you guys in the playoffs that year, he was probably a big part of that chemistry in the clubhouse, I
Yeah, he
would
was the
say.
leadoff hitter. He was the
Yeah.
veteran. Yeah. So
So I think for him, though, he should get a lower coaching job first. Don't really go right into the manager position at this time with the Mets.
yeah. Well, speaking of New York, quickly want to touch upon this. Clint Frazier was talking a little bit about comments that he's just glad to be out of New York. So, nothing groundbreaking, but like, he had a tough run there. I thought it would work out better, but just never. I feel like got his feet on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said, I don't think New York was the right spot for him. I think it's good that he's getting out of New York, not because I didn't like him, and not because I didn't like him as a player.
Yeah.
I just think he needed a different. Sometimes guys just need to change the scenery. We've seen it like countless times.
Yeah.
Although I don't like the fact that he said this, because what if you say this now, and what if the same thing happens in Chicago? Because you're
Yeah.
kind of, now that you just said this, it's like, oh well, being you're out of New York, you're going to do really well apparently. But
Right. Like
like
he's
the
at, and
same
like the
exact thing could
expectations are
happen.
higher. I mean,
So because Chicago is a big city too. I know New York is the biggest market, but Chicago is a big market as well.
yeah. No, he strikes me as pretty confident. So I don't think he's too worried about
Yeah.
putting expectations on himself. But yeah, I see your point with that.
But man, if you talk about two guys that just went to the Cubs, Marcus Stroman and Clint Frazier, got big personalities.
Dude, that's true. The combination
Yeah.
of both of them. Damn, Rip Stro.
Yeah.
And then less kind of interesting news. Yasiyo Puig is going to Korea. He signed a 1-year deal with the KBO team, the Kiwoom Heroes. So, I mean, it's just interesting because like another guy whose career really took an unexpected turn. I mean, he hasn't played since 2019, even though his numbers were good. So, do you think we'll ever see him in baseball again or MLB again? I mean,
Man, I hope so. I've been someone who's never understood the fact that he's not on a Major League Baseball team right now in the States. I mean, dude, if you look at, he played 7 years in the big league, 6 were with the Dodgers, and then his last year was split between Cincinnati and Cleveland. But like his 162 game average when he was here was 277 batting average, 25 homers, 78 RBIs, 823 OPS, and 15 stolen bases. You're telling me that none of the 30 teams can use a guy like that right now? I mean,
so
come
like
on.
I always heard about him. I first of all, I completely agree. I feel like it was just always the personality with him that people had their gripes with. And it was interesting. He actually came out with a letter the other day he wrote about some of the. He was talking about Latino players face like some very unique obstacles when they come to the States to play, where it's like cultural differences. The media just doesn't understand them because they can't communicate with them. So I thought that was interesting. And like I'm in no position to deny that either. I mean that's his experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think that excuses like he's made some like bonehead mistakes, but
Yeah.
I agree. I would hope he gets a second chance.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, there have obviously been situations, whether it was arguing with a teammate or smashing his bat or making a blunder defensively. We've seen it all from him.
Yeah.
But we've also seen all of the best from him, whether it was a walk-off home run, whether it was gunning a guy out of third from right field corner. He's done it all. He's had big postseason moments as well. Obviously, we remember back in 2017, that World Series, Puig had some big homers against the Astros. I mean, even in his last full season alone, he improved. Like, he had his most career RBIs ever with 84, and he also had his most stolen bases in a season at 19. He was an all-star back in 2014. He finished second in Rookie of the Year voting. In 2013, a lot of people thought he would win. That was the year when it was him and Jose Fernandez, I believe. So they were both Cubans. That was a pretty cool Rookie of the Year class there.
Yeah,
and,
true. How about that?
I know that top 20 MVP finish is nothing to really make a big deal about, but it's still something. And he finished in the top 20 MVP voting twice. So, I mean, I really hope he gets a second chance. I don't understand why a team wouldn't want him. I know he's got a big personality, but I mean, it worked out enough with the Dodgers where they made the playoffs every year he was there. It's not like he derailed them from making the playoffs. I mean, he almost brought Cleveland to the playoffs when he got traded there in 2019 as well. I don't know, man. It's interesting though.
What was his nickname? Wild Horse.
Wild Horse. Yeah,
Wild
that
Horse.
was Vince Scully gave him that name.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Love and Scully. Yeah.
yeah, man.
Well, I mean, we're talking about guys who need a bounce back. We wanted to do a little bit of like a deep dive today for if we're looking at 2022 comeback player of the year, assuming the MLB does
Hmm.
its own comeback.
Right. Yeah.
If you're looking at American League, who do you think like is a candidate?
Um, Man, I think there's a few guys that kind of stand out that had pretty off seasons in the American League. But man, for me, I got to go with my guy on the Yankees, DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah.
Listen, he didn't have like a horrible season. He played 150 games. He hit 268, 10 homers, 57 RBIs, 711 OPS, and four stolen bases. Um, that's not the worst, but it's definitely not the standards he's put up since he came to New York. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because in his last full season in 2019, we're not going to look at the shortened season. In 2019, he hit 327, 26 homers, 102 RBIs, 893 OPS, and five stolen bases over 145 games. So that was five fewer games than he played last year. And his
Yeah.
stats were incredible compared to that. I believe in 2019, he finished fourth or third in the MVP voting as
He was
well.
up there.
So I mean,
Yeah.
he that's just a major jump backwards for him. And again, we've also mentioned a couple times that he was apparently battling an oblique injury the whole season, and he apparently had surgery once the year was over to repair that. So that could have affected him a lot. Obviously, we've seen that happen a lot with players that get injured and stuff like that. But man, if you just look at his career alone, he had his worst batting average since 2014 with the
Mm.
Rockies. That was 267. He had his least
Okay.
amount of homers since 2017, least amount of RBI since 2014. He had his worst OPS since 2014 as well. And this was the least amount of stolen bases he's had in a season since 2012. So, I mean, you could just look at pretty much every aspect of his game was not where it should be this year.
Yeah.
His exit velocity went down. His hard hit percentage also went down, and his K percentage went up. So
Mm.
a lot of red flags there. He
So it wasn't
also,
like a fluky bad season, essentially. Like the perfect will show, like he should have been this bad. Yeah.
yeah, he really. I mean, again, you could hopefully it was the injury, and I hope he bounces back next year and he's fine. But like, yeah,
Right.
what you're saying is that yes, he had a bad season, and looking at his numbers, he was supposed to have a bad season.
Hmm.
His batting average on fastballs dropped from 385 in the shortened season to 278 in 2021. So,
Wow.
I mean, that's a full 100 and whatever points. So,
Yeah.
I think he could easily bounce back. We've seen him have great years in New York so far, and obviously in Colorado, he had great years as well. So, um, man, I'm a Yankees fan, so I really hope that he bounces back somehow because we just signed him to that 6-year deal. We don't need this kind of numbers from a guy like that who we know can perform better.
No, yeah, it was a huge drop off.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to dwell on the Yankees, but I'm gonna go with another Yankee infielder. I'm gonna go with
Okay.
Glaber. Um,
Ah,
this past season, like OPS under 700. He's down to was 9 home runs. Now, granted, he missed about 30 games, but still, um, his powers just dropped off a cliff. I mean, obviously 2019 he hits 38 home runs. He's like an MVP candidate. But man, even like his rookie year, he had 24, like 24 home runs.
mm,
So like, I feel like if you just gave him close to that, like you're valuable. So, but yeah, I mean, this season 9 home runs, 51 RBIs, 697 OPS. Granted, he's about to turn 25. Like,
right.
I'm not super worried about him, but like, yeah, it was definitely surprising to see him drop off that much.
Yeah, it was to me too. And again, like his age is something a lot of people forget. Sometimes guys are already in the big leagues by the time they're 25. I believe Aaron
Yeah,
Judge got called up when he was 26 or 27. So um, I think he's going to be fine. It's just strange to see a guy come up and have so much success and drop off.
right.
I think as a Yankee fan, getting to watch him every day, he improved dramatically once they moved him off of shortstop. So
Mm.
I think that kind of had some things to do with his mental ability. I think he would make some errors at short, and then it would affect his hitting, or vice versa. And I mean, yes, he was a shortstop in the minor leagues, but then he played the first two big league seasons of his career at second base. So to move a guy
Yeah.
back to the shortstop position, I feel like that can do a lot on you, because that's obviously like you're the captain of the infield, captain of the defensive team, honestly. And he's a guy that I'm not super worried about either. But now it's been 2 years in a row if you count the shortened season. So
Right.
um,
Like one thing that's kind of interesting, his batting average on balls in play this past year was 314. So like
hmm,
like it's to say he didn't get unlucky. Like that was actually right above his career average for batting average on balls in play. Yeah,
right.
it's really just the power that's kind of dipped. Um, so yeah, we'll see
Yeah, and
if
again,
we
like
bring it
if
back.
he's going to be a second baseman, like everyday second baseman, and let's say he could even just get you 15 homers a year, like at the
Right.
second base position, like that's I would take that. Um,
Hmm.
but still, I mean, I don't know if we're ever going to get 38 homer Glaber, because those were also during the seasons where apparently the balls were juiced, or whatever you want to say about
Yeah,
that too.
that's true.
But I mean, in my realistic opinion, I think he can hit between 20 and 30 homers now that he's back at second base every day.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a stretch, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, I guess the other thing too is you guys have Stanton, Judge, hopefully DJ
Right.
Mouse is back. There's plenty of power in that team already, so
I mean,
you don't need
Gallo.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So like he's in a good situation when it comes to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
So if we're
talk
gonna go
National
to
League. Who do you think?
yeah, so National League, there's also a lot of candidates here. But I think to me the most obvious candidate is Christian Yelich, man.
Yeah,
Again,
definitely.
I think people forget how good he actually was when he came to Milwaukee in 2018 and 2019. But first, I'm going to just give you his 2019 numbers, because when I was going through this, they were actually absurd to me. I didn't realize they were this good. He hit 329, 44 home runs, 97 RBIs, a 1.100 OPS, and 30 stolen bases over only 130 games. Because remember, he
If he
missed
didn't
the
get
last
hurt, he's
month,
definitely going back to back MVP.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if he didn't get hurt, who knows what would have happened to the Brewers in the playoffs, too? I mean,
Yeah.
people forget, too. Trent Grisham was in the outfield, and he made that error because Yelich wasn't playing.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I mean, that could
Crazy.
have been totally different, and the Nationals might not have gotten their first championship. Um, but then you look at Yelich's numbers from last year, and they're not even close. I mean, he batted 248 with 9 homers, 51 RBIs, a 736 OPS, and only 9 stolen bases over 117 games. So obviously that's a little less games, but the numbers are nowhere near what he did in 2019.
Yeah.
I mean, Yelich is known to be like a batting average guy from even from his time in Miami, and this was the worst batting average of his career,
Hmm.
248. His second lowest batting average ever was in 2017, and he hit 282, not counting the shortened season either. In the
Wow.
shortened season, he hit 205, but that doesn't, we can't really look too much into that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, 282 is great compared to 248. So, I
That's
mean, I don't
was
know.
wasn't he also going through a back issue? But like I
Yes,
just
yeah,
can't I don't know how severe it was. If he played 117 games, so I mean it clearly affected him.
yeah. I think it definitely did, but I mean, if that's the case, they just gave him like a mega contract.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
no, regardless. I mean
you
it's hard to
they obviously
justify.
were not expecting this. Hopefully the back issue doesn't stay. I mean, hopefully this offseason they can fix it, and then he's gonna be back. I mean, his
Yeah.
home run total was the worst since 2015 when he hit 7. But that was in Miami where he was hitting close to 300. So like he wasn't really a power hitter back then.
Hmm.
I mean, his RBI total was the worst since 2015 as well. And his OPS was the worst of his entire career also. His worst before this was a 764 OPS. And like I said, this year was 736. So really not good. And his stolen bases was tied for the worst of his career, I believe, with 9. His exit velocity was pretty was down too. His barrel percentage went down dramatically from 15.8 to 7.6. So that's kind of not what you want to see. Again, the back might have been affecting that though. And his highest K percentage was this year at 23.8.
Hmm.
Yelich is just not known as a guy that strikes out a lot, man. I mean,
No,
even when he was in
no.
Miami, when he wasn't a power hitter, it's like, I mean, he hit 273 off of fastballs this year compared to 348 um, against him in 2019. It's just it's strange to me that he could just go to Milwaukee and have 2 amazing seasons and all of a sudden have 2 bad seasons, like really bad. Um,
I just looked it up. He's just turned 30. So like,
mhm.
it's not like if he just turned like 33, 34, I feel a little more concerned. But still, yeah, it's a odd how quickly he dropped off.
Yeah, and I mean, again, if the back is the major issue here, then maybe he'll get it fixed and be back. But you can also look at it the same way you look at Glaber's home run total. Like, are we ever going to see 44 homers again from Yelich? I don't know. But
Yeah.
could we see between 25 and 35, especially in a ballpark like Milwaukee? I think so. Um, because man, to me, like the Brewers are a great team right now. I think they're obviously the favorite to win the Central again. Even with Yelich's numbers, even if they stayed like this, I still think they would win the Central. But if they want to run away with it and kind of have a run in the playoffs, Yelich has to be better because I mean they have a great team right now. Their pitching staff
Yeah.
is amazing, and if Yelich isn't doing what he's supposed to do offensively, this pitching staff is going to get wasted. Um,
Oh yeah. No, I think he's absolutely the X factor going forward next season if they're gonna be legit. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna go I'm gonna go with my guy Frankie.
Okay.
I mean his first season in New York, a lot happened on the field, in the clubhouse with raccoons, stuff happened there too. I mean his final numbers, honestly, when you look at them, are not awful. It's 20 homers, 63 RBIs, 734 OPS. So he was basically an average shortstop. But I mean, that was the fewest homers he had since 2016. His first half was awful. Missed close to 40 games, so I mean, it could have had a factor as well. But yeah, no, I mean, OPS dropped off over 100 points from his last full season. So he did, for a long part of it, he did not look like himself, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. I think like especially because you guys gave him the big contract, a lot of
Right.
Mets fans were expecting an MVP season. But let's face it, man, we know it better than anybody. When you come to New York, it's a different animal. So, I think it took him some time to get used to New York, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, and I'll give him that. I mean, one interesting thing to look at, his batting average on balls in play last year was 248, and that was the
hmm
lowest of his career. So that shows he probably got a little unlucky when it came to that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think he bounces back. Um, who do you who do you think bounces? Are you more confident bounces back, like Yelich or Frankie?
Oh man, that's honestly really tough because they were both like amazing players before these past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
To me, I personally think Yelich because of where he plays. Like I think the
Okay.
media isn't going to be on him there as much as Lindor if he starts off bad again this year. Like let's
Yeah.
say the first month of the season, they're both kind of still not really there. Like they're kind of having bad seasons. I think Yelich will have a bigger ability to come back and not have the city on his back about it rather than Lindor. But I don't know, man. Lindor, like, man, I don't know. It's
I
tough because,
I hear that. I'll make the case for Lindor in that he's a little younger and he also has less of an injury history.
mhm.
But I could see it going both ways. But I mean, you're talking about two like if guys if they're gonna be on like if they're on their game, playoff
Yeah.
contenders. So
I mean, playoff contenders, they could both be in the top 3 MVP talks. easily.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? Months from now, in next November, we might be talking about Lindor and Yelich as the top 2 MVP candidates. So,
I
uh,
mean, Frankie had 38 home runs in 2018. Feels
I
like a
know,
while. Like
man.
it does. I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see him in the playoffs again too, because there was so much fun seeing him in the playoffs in Cleveland.
yeah.
Especially like back in 2016 when it was Cubs Indians World Series. I mean, it
Oh
was
yeah.
just so fun to watch. So,
No,
hopefully
and
we
just
see
the energy
them.
he brings too. Yeah.
And hey, man, we might see a Brewers Mets NLDS NLCS
Mm,
possibly.
that'd be a good series. A lot of good pitching too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we kind of want to do a little bit of a player profile right now on a guy who could potentially be on an MLB team at the start of the season. He could potentially not, though. He's coming over from Japan, Seiya Suzuki. He's a superstar over there, but he only has a certain amount of time where he can sign. And I believe that if the lockout is still happening, that time could be up by sometime in February, and he may not be
Damn.
able to come over here yet. But that doesn't mean he never will. He could the next season. So I kind
Right.
of just want to dive into what we could expect from him, and I kind of want to look at like some stats from other great Japanese hitters. But if you look at like Japanese players that have come over here, the majority of the time, the really, really good players are pitchers, whether
Okay.
it's Daisuke Matsuzaka or Yu Darvish or guys like that. Hideo Nomo, I believe, was from Japan. And then you look at the hitters. I mean, honestly, there are arguably only like 4 really, really good hitters from Japan in the entire time they've come over here.
Mm,
Obviously, number one is Ichiro. He's the
yeah.
best one. He's probably the best pure hitter ever, I would say, that we've
Yeah, that's
seen.
fair.
I mean, man, this dude played in the MLB 14 years with Seattle, then 3 years with us with the Yanks, and then 3 years with the Marlins. Plus all the years he played in Japan. I believe he played in the States until he was like 45, I think.
He was
So that's just
old. Yeah.
insane. I mean, he got 3,000 hits in the States. Overall, he had over 4,000 hits,
I was
including his
about to
Japanese
say
hits.
that's crazy, man.
Um, I mean, he got his 3,000th hit with the Marlins. I think he was like 42 or 43. So that's just nuts to me. I mean, he was a career 311 hitter. The dude was just a stud. Defensively,
Yeah.
too. We've all seen the plays, the throws from right field and stuff. He's won the MVP, Rookie of the Year. He was a 10-time Gold Glove winner, a 10-time All-Star. The list goes on and on for Ichiro, and he's a Hall of Famer. So obviously, he's the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
I think, though, the next best guy, as of now, although it could be Shohei Ohtani pretty soon, but the next best guy is Hideki Matsui.
Mm,
Obviously, he played a lot with us, 7 years with the Yanks. Then he had several different years with the Angels, the A's, and then the Rays. But man, he had over 1,000 hits here. He had a career 282 batting average, 175 home runs. Um, I mean, you look at his playoff numbers with the Yanks. He helped us win that World Series back in '09. He
right.
hit 312 in the playoffs for us, 10 homers, 933 OPS career in the playoffs. He was a World Series champion. He was
Wow.
also
That's
the
pretty
World
good.
Series. Yeah, I mean, the dude had ice water in his veins when it came to October baseball.
Yeah.
He was the World Series MVP in 2009 also when we beat the Phillies. So, I mean, honestly, if you just look at his postseason numbers alone, he was amazing. And then I think Shohei Ohtani is probably the next best guy already, and he's only played 4 seasons here.
Mm,
I mean, I'm just going to look at his hitting stats. Obviously, his pitching stats are amazing as well, but he has 93 homers already here, an 890 career OPS, 55 stolen bases. That's far and away. He's probably going to have, I don't know, let's say like 400 stolen bases at least over his career, I would assume, something like that.
mm,
Um, I mean, the dude is just a beast. He just won the MVP. He won the Rookie of the Year when he first came over. He was an All-Star for the first time this year. He also won the Silver Slugger.
yeah.
So, I mean, he's just going to keep getting better, and it's going to be fun to watch him. And another guy, probably a little less well known, but he did have some good seasons. Nori Aoki played with a bunch of different teams. He played with the Brewers. with the Royals, Giants, a bunch of other
Hmm.
teams. And he was a career 285 hitter here. He had 98 stolen bases, 33 career home runs, so not a lot, but he was more of an on base guy. So, but he had some great seasons, and he was with the Royals. I remember he had a big hit in like the 2014 wild card game in that crazy game against the A's when it went
Yeah.
like extra
Yeah.
innings. So like he's had some moments that you can remember. And he was a pretty good hitter too. But man, other than that, the list is really short for players who have translated into really good MLB hitters. And I mean, guys recently, even some guys that are playing now that are known, that are like people are probably familiar with them. Yoshi Tsutsugo is on the Pirates. He had some play with the Rays when they made it to the World Series against the Dodgers in 2020. Shogo Akiyama is currently on the Reds, and Muneniri Kawasaki played with the Blue Jays for a while. He's not currently playing anymore, but
Yeah.
these are guys who have probably had mediocre success at best. Obviously, Satsugo and Akiyama could all of a sudden have great years. You know, you never know what's going to happen, but they just
Yeah.
haven't yet. Um, so to me, it's like it's hard to predict what to expect from Seiya Suzuki. Obviously, he's a superstar over there, but it's tough to really predict it.
Right. Like I guess the level of pitching is just different over here, so it's hard to adjust when you're over.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, like so Suzuki's 27 right now. Is that
Mhm.
is that about normal age for a Japanese player to come over? It seems a little
I
old
think
to me.
no, it's about normal. I believe
Normal,
that that's
yeah.
around when Ichiro came over because remember he had
Uh,
already had over like 1,000 hits in Japan when he
right.
came over
Okay.
here, and I think that's why it took him so long to get to 3,000 here because he came over when he was like 27 ish. I think maybe a little bit younger, maybe 26. I don't know, but I think it's
Yeah.
about right because like Matsui played 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons here. And I think he retired when he was around 38 or 39.
Yeah.
So I think it's about normal, honestly. It's kind of strange,
Hmm.
but they have a posting period there where like they have to play a certain amount of games in the Japanese league until they can come here, I think, or
Gotcha.
something.
Okay. I was yeah,
And
I
I
was
think
curious what
like
the criteria for
yeah,
that was. Yeah.
like it's not like other countries where they can just come here right away. I think they have to play because of however their league is set up.
Okay.
Because I think the teams that they play for get paid some of their contract money when they come to the states. It's kind of a
Hmm.
weird system, honestly.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh.
But yeah, I mean, looking at like Suzuki's numbers over there in the NPB, he's had 9 seasons. And he's a career 309 hitter. He has 189 career homers, 943 career OPS, and 102 stolen bases. So he'll get you some stolen
Hmm.
bases too. I think that's something that'll obviously translate. I mean, apparently he's a really great defender as well. A lot of teams are
Okay.
even looking at him to come over and play center field. He can play all three outfield positions. And he's played 73 career games at third base, so not a ton, but it's good to know you can throw him in there if you have to.
Yeah. Huh.
But I mean, to me, it's like a lot of people are comparing him. I've heard comparisons to Ronald Acuna Jr., which are very high comparisons.
That's a
And
very
like,
high bar to set
and
there.
you know what? It like to me, it's like I want him to be that guy. That would be awesome. But like,
Yeah.
is it like are we putting too much on him? Like he might not be that guy just because of what you said about the pitching. It's definitely different here compared to there.
Yeah, like yeah, that seems a little high, I guess. Yeah, I'm curious. Like, do you look at the stats differently because of the history of like not a lot of successful like Japanese born players in MLB, or like does that not matter? Like, is that almost like unfair to put on them? Hmm.
Right. And I mean, like when you look at like a lot of teams, like first of all, I would love for him to go to a playoff team because I feel like sometimes Japanese players come over here. We've seen it with Otani or with Ichiro. I know they made the playoffs
Yeah.
the first year Ichiro was here, but then the Mariners haven't made the playoffs since, and the Angels obviously haven't done anything. So, I mean, Matsui came over and came to the Yankees. Not saying that he should just come to the Yankees, but like Matsui came over and was in the playoffs almost every season with us until
Right.
he
Right.
went to the Angels. So I feel like he should look at that. But I also don't know, like, should our team's going to be like hesitant with their money? Do you think, like, the amount of money they're going to give him? Because I don't think he's going to get like a huge contract. I don't know
Probably
what they're going
not.
to look at.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe like a 5-year deal or so. And
yeah,
granted, I can think of plenty instances where like players will come from Latin American countries and like struggle too. Remember like Rusney Castillo? Remember he
yeah,
came he won
yeah,
the Red Sox for like 60 million or something, and he just like could
yeah,
not play.
yeah,
So
definitely.
I mean, it happens. I guess sometimes you just can't
Yeah,
adjust. But
because like again, if I've heard Japanese players talk about it, like Ichiro talked about it in several interviews that like when you come here, guys throw harder and everyone throws harder. It's like
okay,
everyone throws close to 100. Everyone has these great curveballs or whatever. Like they're he also said that actually the size is a big difference of the people. Like the
oh,
players, whether they're from America or Latin countries or wherever they're from, he said like a lot of players are a lot bigger here. So
okay,
like
okay,
they can, I mean, it's like whether you're in the field or whatever the case is, he's like it's more intimidating when you're hitting. I've heard guys say too because the pitchers are
hmm.
taller, so it's a little bit of a different look. I don't know. I really hope that he's a good fit here. I hope that he signs, first of all. I hope the lockout ends and we don't have to wait another year to see him because a lot of people are talking about him a lot. I mean, there are some teams that he would obviously be a fit for, including the Yankees. Actually, we've apparently were looking at him before the lockout happened to fill in at
Okay.
center field and maybe move Hicks or something. But again, I would kind of be like, is that really the answer? Like, if he's really good, that is the answer. But if you give him a big ass contract and then all of a sudden he doesn't live up to the hype, I don't know if teams
Yeah,
can take
I guess
that
there's an
right
element
now.
of risk to it. Yeah. I just hope his what do you call it, his signing period doesn't
I know.
pass during the lockout too.
Yeah, I hope, man, I know because I don't want to wait another season just to because then he's going to be 28. It's like it's not fair to him either,
Right.
honestly, because then he won't get paid as much money down the road if he is good because then he'll be well, if he gets a 5-year deal, it'll be what, 32, 33. A lot of guys aren't
Yeah.
getting paid that much then. Obviously, the Mets just signed Marte, but still, that's a little bit of a different scenario. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's definitely an interesting case though. And I really hope for the best for him. I hope he gets to sign with the team and we really see what he can do because like for anyone international, MLB is like the highest stage you can get. And
Hmm.
everyone wants to come and play here to really see what they can do and show what they can do. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Hopefully he's like the next great Japanese hitter and he's on this list, you know.
Yeah. Well, okay. One little side note to cap this up. I'm thinking about Ichiro. Did he ever play like meaningful baseball? Like in the playoffs? I'm trying
So
to think
yeah,
back to like
in
Seattle.
in his first season in 2001, Seattle made it to the ALCS because they beat the Yankees in the
Right.
ALDS. That was the year that like Edgar had that big hit, I think, in Game 5, and Griffey scored in
Okay.
Seattle. Ichiro was on that team. Or no, I don't know if that was the same year. Actually, that might have been the '90s, but I know Ichiro was in the playoffs in 2001, but they didn't make it past the DS, I
Yeah, I
think.
just I can't remember really seeing him on the big stage a lot, which kind of sucks
Yeah, I
because
know.
he was there for so
He
long.
Yeah, I know he played 2 years with the playoffs with the Yankees too.
Right,
Um,
right.
or maybe only one season. I don't know. He was here for like a year, 2.5 years, I think.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't know, whatever it was, but like he wasn't the same player, obviously, with us that he was with Seattle. So it would have been nice to see him in the playoffs more when he was younger. But he
yeah.
honestly, if you look back at his playoff numbers, though, they were like really good. In
Hmm.
his career postseason stats, I think he hit 346. He had like an 836 OPS. So he played really well when he did play in the playoffs. It just was a shame that
Dang.
we didn't get to see him more, you know.
Right, it's almost like
Hopefully
a
the same
Trout
thing.
situation at this point.
I know, like I hope it doesn't happen with Otani because I want to see him in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
one
Yeah.
day they'll get there one day.
Yeah.
All right, so we also want to talk. I mean, obviously not a lot going on. We thought it'd be cool to talk a little bit like throwbacks from our childhood, like just players who may have like been forgotten a little bit, that had like a great run. So one guy that definitely well, let's talk like 2008, 2017, around then, that range. Um,
Okay.
One guy who I really remember like vividly was Prince Fielder.
Oh,
This was
man.
2016, 2013. Anyway,
Yeah.
averaged 35 home runs, 108 RBIs, 918 OPS. Played 160 games a year. Like he didn't really get hurt until the end.
Mhm.
Um, 5 All-Star games, 4 times was in the top 10 MVP voting. 2007 he had 50 home runs. 2009 he drove in 141. Like he was, I hate to say, like he was probably going to the Hall of Fame if he didn't get hurt. He was almost definitely going. So if he didn't have the major, I think the spinal injury, I think was what he had with
Yeah,
Texas.
it was like it was all connected. It was like his spine and his neck. It was just not a good situation.
Yeah.
I think it was like a herniated disc or something, maybe something like
Okay.
that. Man, man, Prince is definitely somebody I hadn't thought about in a while. He was so
Yeah.
much fun to watch. Like obviously his best years were probably in Milwaukee, but like then he went to Detroit and like him and Miggy were like,
Yeah. He
I
backed up
mean, come
Miggy.
on.
Yeah.
The fact that you look back at those Detroit teams too, it was like him, Miggy, they had JD Martinez, and their pitching
Dude.
staff was Verlander, Scherzer, Porcello, I mean, Smiley, Price. Come on. I think they
We
had
should do a deep
Cespedes at
dive
some
on that
point.
team one day because that
We
really
we
was one of
should.
like the better teams to not win at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you remember too, like that was when Miggy moved off of first base to go play third again, so Prince could play
Right. Right.
first. And then it was, I think he got traded to Texas for Ian Kinsler, like straight up, right? I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, he had great years in Texas too. I don't know how many seasons he played there before he got hurt, but
It
I
was a
think they made the
few. Yeah.
playoffs in like two of those seasons. And then if you think about that, it was like him and Beltre in Texas.
Hmm.
Um, and like back to the Brewers, it was him and Braun. I mean, it was always like he was like, I don't know if he was the guy protecting them or if they were more so protecting him wherever he went. But
Right.
man, he was so fun to watch. Like he was in a couple of home run derbies. I think he maybe
Yeah.
even won one. Um, oh man, he was just. I think he was a definite Hall of Famer. I think he actually may possibly be on the ballot this year, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, I don't think he's gonna get in. I don't. I just don't think he has enough there
Yeah.
to get
And then
in.
this
But
is a. I just randomly remember this. Didn't he finish with exactly the same amount of home runs as his dad?
yeah, I think
Because
so.
his
Yeah,
dad played. I forget his name, but his dad
his
played.
dad
I
was
think they finished.
Cecil
That's
Fielder.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think they finished with the exact same number, which is kind of cool. Like so
yeah.
random, but kind of cool.
It is really random, man. I just think too, like he had one of the purest swings like we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like lefties always have like cooler swings for whatever reason that is. Like
Yeah.
you know, Robbie Cano back in the day, everyone said he had the sweetest swing, but man, I always thought that Prince Fielder's swing was awesome. The fact like he was so violently swinging half the time though too, like he would just rip into them, and like when he would hit bombs, man, they were like
I know you
tanks.
like
I mean,
it was like so satisfying to watch. That's definitely what I remember from him. Yeah.
yeah, I wish with that I wish he would have gotten a World Series too because he
Yeah.
had so many great playoff seasons with all three teams he played for, and they just never got him one.
No, no, yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's fun to look back and think of because I forgot about him before
yeah,
today. I was just looking at people. But yeah.
yeah.
Who stands out to you from that time period?
Um, well, I'm gonna go with another guy who had probably a big personality in the game. A lot of people loved him. Like everyone loves Prince, but I think Adam Jones, man, from the
Yeah,
Orioles.
yeah,
Oh man, I mean, obviously, I saw him a lot because the Yankees played the Orioles all the time.
yeah.
Man, Adam Jones was awesome to watch. I think he is playing in Japan right now. Actually, speaking of Japan,
Oh, got you.
why he's not on an MLB team, I have no idea. But that's regardless of the
Yeah,
point. Um, so I'm going to look at his numbers from 2008 to 2017 with the Orioles. First of all, they made the playoffs 3 out of those 10 seasons, so not a lot, but he was a big reason why they did make it when they did.
yeah.
So over those 10 years, he averaged about 147 games played per year. So that's pretty solid. Obviously, maybe he just had one 10-day DL stint a year. Back then, it was called
Right,
the
right.
DL instead of the IL.
Oh, right. I forgot about
I
that.
remember
Yeah,
those days.
yeah,
But man, I mean, his average stats every year, he would hit 278, 25 bombs, 80 RBIs, 780 OPS, and 8 stolen bases. For a center fielder, that's pretty much exactly what you want. I mean, he was great defensively as well. His career number, I mean, he was a 5-time All-Star during this span. He had 4 Gold Gloves, 1 Silver Slugger, and he had 3 top 15 MVP finishes. The dude was the best center. I would say he was the best center fielder in the league until Trout came. And then
Okay. Yeah,
that was
fair.
about 2012. And then I think that some of these, like the Gold Gloves and the Silver Slugger, were probably before 2012 because Trout obviously was winning
And Trout
them
just came in and took
every
them.
time.
Yeah.
So, but still, I mean, man, Adam Jones. I think even when Trout came, though, like looking at consistency, those numbers averaged by Jones per year, probably the second best center fielder, at least in the American League, I would say, for like let's say from 2012 through 17.
Yeah.
I mean,
what I remember from him was like the Orioles sucked for a while, like before like Manny came on, and who else like before Cruz was there, like but
and
I
Chris
remember
Davis,
he was like the mainstay. He was the one guy who was like through it all. So like definitely respect. He was there through some pretty bad days.
Yeah, man, and like I mean, I know that the Orioles never really had the pitching staff that the Tigers had when we talk about stuff like that, but I mean, if you look at their offense, they had Machado, J.J. Hardy was at short. He was great. They had Matt Wieters at catcher. Chris Davis was at first. They had Mark Trumbo also for a while,
Right.
and Nelson Cruz. And then they had like Brian Roberts at second, who was a guy that a lot of people probably forgot about too, but he was a pretty good player for them as well. I mean, they had Chris Tillman was probably their best pitcher for a little while, and he had a few good years, but then he dropped off. But like their bullpen, they had Zach Britton, Darren O'Day, Brad Brock. I mean, man, the fact that they didn't get farther too blows my mind because
like
they really had great offensive teams, and their bullpen was always really good.
Yeah, I vividly remember the series with Detroit where Cruz hit like that game-winning hit at Camden.
Yeah.
And then I think they lost to Kansas City. I think that's what happened next.
Yeah,
they were good, man. I think they were probably like a starting pitcher or 2 away from like being legit, but still, man, that was a fun team. I definitely liked watching that team.
And I mean, I think back in 2016, they were in the wild card game against the Blue Jays, and actually Buck Showalter didn't put Britton in, and then Encarnacion, I believe, hit the walk-off home run. So who knows what would have happened that year, because that was they had Machado, they had all the guys that year too. That was probably their last chance with all those guys, and then
he put in Ubaldo Jimenez. I remember.
Oh man, he did. Oh god, I forgot about that. That's another name you forget about, by the way. He's another guy you could totally dive into.
Yeah.
He had great years in Colorado as a pitcher somehow, but yeah, I remember that. But man, yeah, getting back to Jones, I think he played his last season in MLB as of now in 2019 with the Diamondbacks, and he had a pretty good season. And then nobody wanted him. It's kind of like the Puig situation. I don't understand why you wouldn't want a guy like that. And it's almost like it makes less sense than Puig because Jones never had any issues like clubhouse-wise or personality-wise. Like, I mean, I think he was a great clubhouse guy for them. Like, he knew how to hype guys up. He knew when to sit down with a young kid and be like, you got to do this better. Like, he was a perfect player, honestly. And I don't know why a team wouldn't want that in the clubhouse right now. I mean, who knows? Maybe I think he still is signed with the Japanese team through this year, but I don't know exactly how old he is either. But maybe he'll come back somehow and be like a fourth outfielder for a team.
He's 36. So,
dude, that's not that old, man. I don't understand.
That's not a question. Like, I won't expect it, but like it'd be cool if it happened. Yeah.
It would be cool, man. Hopefully 2 years from now, we see Puig and Adam Jones back in MLB because that would be great.
That would be a throwback. Yeah, for sure. All right. For stat of the week, we'll change up a little bit this week. We were just talking like childhood years, guys you remember. So let's go back to like 2012. I'll pick like a stat, and you can just see if you can name like people who are in like the top 5 or so. So for home runs, American League and National, who you think was in like the top 5? If you can name any of them.
Oh man. Okay. 2012. Josh Hamilton,
Yeah, he was number two. Okay.
Miguel Cabrera.
He was number one. Yep.
Was that his Triple Crown year?
I think so. Because
I
he beat
believe
out
it
Trout
was.
for MVP. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Trout,
There
but I
was
don't know. No.
no, there was a guy in
Uh,
the Yankees. And we
oh,
actually talked
okay.
about him
Curtis
today.
Granderson. Yeah, Curtis
Yes.
Granderson. Teixeira. I feel like there were two Yankees that year. Maybe not though.
Not
No.
no.
No, no, no.
The other two
Let's
guys
see.
where I'll tell you they were on Toronto and
Uh,
Milwaukee.
Bautista,
Close.
Encarnacion.
Encarnacion. Yep.
Okay. Prince Fielder.
No, surprisingly no.
Ryan Braun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Was that a steroid year? I lost
Uh,
track of when that was at this point.
it might have been. I think it might have been. Either
Yeah.
2011 or 2012. I think was the big years for that for him. So,
Yeah.
but man, I think like another guy, Josh Hamilton. That's a name that we haven't
It's
heard in a long
true.
time either. He had some great years with Texas.
Yeah. He got a big contract from LA, I remember.
Yeah, he did. That didn't work out.
No, not really.
Yeah. But man,
All
it's
right,
so
well,
funny to like look back at about like 10 years ago and just see like who was in the lead and stuff. You
there's
know?
some random names in here, man.
Yeah.
Josh Willingham. Remember him?
Wow. He was on the Twins, I think. I believe.
Um,
Wow.
Alex Gordon led the league in doubles.
Really?
Like
Wow.
Shin-Soo Choo was up there. Like all these
Man.
like unlocked memories I have now.
Right? Man, those were
Yeah,
the days.
yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up for us. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, more stuff to talk about. Maybe
Yeah.
not. What is like
If not,
what does like MLB Network do right now? Are they still doing like the Hall of
I
Fame shit?
honestly have no idea, man. I haven't even turned it on in a while. I don't even know what they talk about now. It's very weird.
No,
Um,
yeah. Well, we'll come up with something. We'll come up with something.
yeah, we'll have stuff to talk about. We'll have some more throwbacks for you if worst case. So
Yeah, yeah. All right, peace, guys.
see you guys next week.